Welcome to Wheaton Woods Elementary School. I'm excited to see you all here this morning. Today is the first day of school, and teaching and learning is well underway with our over 550 students who are in the building. We've got over 75 staff members working with kids today, and we're excited that you all are here this morning. I have the pleasure this morning of hosting with our school all of you who are here this morning to hear about Montgomery County Public Schools. And with that, I would like to thank executive staff who are here, Board of Education members, and I believe Mrs. Pat O'Neill will come up and introduce and set the next part of our presentation this morning. Mrs. O'Neill?
Thank you, Mr. Chia, and thank you for having us here at Wheaton Woods, home of the Wildcats. First, I'd like to introduce my fellow Board of Education members, Phil Kaufman, Jill Ortman-Faust, Judy Daca. I know that our student member was going to try and slip away and play hooky, but I'm not sure whether he made it on the first day of school. And Rebecca Smondrowski sends her regrets. She's at home recovering from surgery. I'd also like to introduce a few other of our county elected officials who are true partners with us. County Executive Isaiah Leggett, Council President George Leventhal, Council Member Craig Rice, who is Chair of the Education Committee, and you will hear from them a bit later. We also have a couple of members of our delegation, Delegate Charles Barkley. Delegate Al Carr is supposed to be attending. I guess he's running a bit late. And Senator Nancy King, chair of our Senate delegation.
Delegate Marisay Morales.
Oh, Delegate Marisay Morales. I hope I didn't forget anybody else. Thank you. Providing an education takes partnership. And we want to thank our elected officials who are true partners working with us to provide our students with the best possible education. I want to welcome you to the 2015-16 school year and wish you all a happy new year. Some people think the new year begins on January 1, but today is the real beginning of the new year. This year we are so pleased that we have pushed back school start times in order to give our students, especially our teens, a little extra sleep. Secondary schools will start 20 minutes later this year. Elementary schools will start 10 minutes later and end 20 minutes later in the afternoon. This may seem like a small change, but for a district our size, where you bus 100,000 students a day, nothing is simple. And this was quite a shift and involved a lot of work over the summer for our transportation folks and our folks in our schools, particularly our elementary administrators, in juggling that 10-minute change. So I want to thank all of them for their efforts. The biggest story in our district this year is the growth, and that's been true for many years. Wheaton Woods epitomizes our capital needs here in Montgomery County. It has growth. It has a whole village of portables. Our enrollment this year is expected to top 156,500 students, the highest in the district's history. We've added nearly 20,000 students since 2007. And to put that in perspective, that's enough students to fill our largest high school, Blair High School, 6 times over. And that growth is not expected to slow down very much at all. And by 2021, we expect our enrollment to top 165,000 students. Up to this point, most of our enrollment has been in the elementary schools like Wheaton Woods. But in the future, we anticipate a lot of growth in our middle and high schools as well. We are building as fast as we can to keep up with the growth, and we are opening 5 classroom expansion projects today, 4 in elementary schools and 1 in a high school, but the need is much greater. The board will be focusing on this year as we prepare our 6-year capital improvements program, and I look forward to working with our partners on this important issue. I want to be clear, though, Growth is not a problem, it's a compliment. We are so pleased that so many parents want to send their children to Montgomery County Public Schools and entrust us to provide them with a world-class education. The Board of Education is committed to our strategic planning framework, which reads that every student will have the academic, creative problem-solving, and social and emotional skills to be successful in college and career. Mr. Bowers will talk about some of our strategic priorities he and the board have identified as our areas of focus for this coming year to ensure we are continuing our work toward that mission. The board is committed to our core values that really define what it means to be a public school system: learning, relationships, respect, excellence, and equity. We consider these values to be everything we do. For instance, our values of relationships, respect, and equity were at the forefront of our collaboration with the faith community in developing our new guidelines for respecting religious diversity in Montgomery County Public Schools. This publication answers frequently asked questions about how we work with families to ensure that students have an opportunity to participate in their cultural and religious practices in a fair and equitable way. We appreciate the work of our staff and the help of our faith community here in Montgomery County. Also aligned with our core values are our improved efforts to reach out to our Spanish-speaking families. Today, we are launching an improved Spanish website, a new Spanish Facebook page, and videos that are designed to inform parents and help them navigate the school system. We are also launching a Spanish app, which can be downloaded from the Apple Store or Google Play. Aligned with our core values of learning and excellence are our efforts to maximize instructional time and use testing in an appropriate way. Over the summer, the Board of Education endorsed the superintendent's plan to eliminate 2-hour end-of-semester final exams in middle schools. The board is now considering changes to our grading and reporting policy that will allow for the elimination of 2-hour final exams, the end of the semester as we know them now in high school classes, but will replace them with end of marking period tests or portfolios, projects, and other ways to evaluate and ensure that we have good instruction going on in our schools. These changes will restore at least 2 weeks of valuable instructional time in our schools, while ensuring we continue to be a data-driven school system. We are also pleased that changes are being made to the way new state tests are being administered. The PARCC tests will be given this year in one block, not two like last year, and will take about 90 minutes less. We're pleased that the state listened to us and parents and teachers so that we could reduce the amount of time spent on standardized testing. Once again, one of the most important things that the Board of Education will do will be to hire a new superintendent. We expect to relaunch our superintendent search later this fall to ensure a superintendent in place by July 1. But we're so thrilled that Larry Bowers is serving as our interim. Nothing in this system missed a beat. Schools were ready to go this morning, and we appreciate that. Before we hear from Mr. Bowers, we're going to hear from a couple of our community partners. First, I'm going to call on County Executive Isaiah Leggett, who's a true friend of education, and then State Senator Nancy King. Without them, we couldn't do what we do, and I know then Mr. Chia will introduce Mr. Leventhal and Mr. Rice, following Mr. Leggett and Senator King. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. O'Neill talked about the numbers, and we can see the numbers. I'm going to talk about real life. This is my granddaughter, and she is entering the first grade at Maryvale today. So of that 156, 514 numbers, this is Amira Wells. And I say that because we can get lost in the numbers. But what we fail to recognize, when we have numbers like this, it means that we need to ensure that we do not have a student-teacher ratio that is out of proportion. That we have the adequate resources for our students. And my daughter will be the first to mention to me, and she's constantly on me about the learning cottages that we have, and you see them right here at this location. We have an excellent system, but no system can continue to operate effectively with the kinds of numbers that we see and the restraints on resources that we've had over the last few years. The decision earlier this year not to provide the additional funding that the legislature had provided hurts us. The Wynn case hurts us. We will need an infusion of additional resources to make certain that our system have all of the resources that are necessary in order to provide a first-rate education for all students, not just my granddaughter, but for all students. And so I'm committed to that endeavor. But this is an opportunity for us to remind ourselves about the wonderful organization that we have, about our teachers, and all of the support staff, and all of those who are making this system possible. I brag constantly about our school system, but I cannot continue to hold that flag up unless we are prepared to provide the resources that we talked about. So I will let you know again that there is no way for us to stay within the maintenance of effort to achieve the goals and objectives that you see on those priorities over there. There's no way for us to stay within the maintenance of effort to ensure that we do not continue to have student-teacher ratios that are disproportionate. So it will mean, and we've looked at all other resources, all of the concerns that we've had, that it will mean additional resources, and what I'm talking about, additional taxes. Because I want to make sure that the state is providing its portion of what we need, and that we are doing it here locally, so that my granddaughter, who says, back to cool, on a hot day for school today, has the education that all of us want for all of our children. Thank you.
Good morning. I just had to be here this morning, I think because having been on the school board and MCPS is still in my heart, we have such a good team put together with the county council and the county executive and the school board, and being able to look at the needs of our kids and advocate for those in Annapolis is just what we have to do. We have such a unique situation in the state that it is really hard to make others understand. With Montgomery County schools growing at the rate they're growing, no one else is. So it's very hard for us to sell that in Annapolis, but that's our job. And it's, I think, seeing other legislators here this morning just shows that we're all on the same page with trying to get school construction funding and school funding. I do want to publicly ask the governor to think about the fact that we do have such a large school system. We do have so many needs here in Montgomery County. The governor sets that budget, and we need him to really pay attention and look at the needs of our county as far as school construction goes and as far as school funding goes, and help us out with that. I'm confident that we're going to be able to convince him of that fact, and we'll be looking for all of you to help us do that throughout the school year. But like I said, working together with a Craig Rice and a George Leventhal and the school board, and it is so helpful to us in Annapolis when we're trying to state our case. So I'm proud to say that we do have a really good relationship going, and want to continue that this year. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator King. I'd like to introduce now Mr. George Leventhal, President of the Montgomery County Council.
Mr. Chia, congratulations on what I know is going to be a great year here at Wheaton Woods. We were greeted, Jill Ortman-Faust and I came in together, and we were greeted by some of the student ambassadors, and what a tremendously impressive group of young people. They spoke well, they represented the school well, so I want to thank you for that. And I just want to echo very briefly a couple of things that have already been said, but they're important to emphasize. I really appreciate Pat O'Neill's point that the fact that our school system is growing so rapidly is an extraordinary mark of what we offer here. We're proud to be a magnet for talent. We're proud to be the kind of community that people want to come to and want to be educated in. It's a fiscal burden, and we've got to have a real dialogue with our taxpayers. The county executive has warned us that a tax increase may be coming. We've got to be very upfront and transparent, but our public understands that our school system is the fundamental platform on which we build everything else. It's what attracts people to live here. It's what attracts companies to stay here and locate here, and we're going to continue that progress. And just as Senator King said, working together, we're going to continue that progress. I have to say, I've been a county council member for 13 years. I think that the dialogue in the last year, and I really give Interim Superintendent Larry Bowers a great deal of credit, has been as upfront and positive and really interactive as any year that I've seen it. We're facing a very, very tough economic challenge. We're trying to grow our economy. We're adopting a very aggressive approach to economic development, but nowhere, in no community, are jobs growing as fast, or is investment increasing as fast as that community would like. And so we have this burden of having lots and lots of people wanting to benefit from the extraordinary opportunities of our outstanding public education system and a tax base that's not growing as fast as our enrollment population. That's a big challenge. We've got to be upfront with our public about how we're going to deal with that. And we've got to have the support of our state legislators. We already heard from Senator King and acknowledged Delegate Barkley and Delegate Morales. I see Delegate Gutierrez, my great friend, is here, a great champion for public education over so many years. And, working together, we're going to get this done. We've got a good dialogue with the school board. I think we're working together. We understand that it's our tax base and it's our school system. We're all in this together. The county executive mentioned his granddaughter. I'm the parent of two sons. And both of them have been in the MCPS system throughout. My older boy got such a great education in MCPS. There is no private school that would have given him an education better than he got in the Montgomery-Blair cluster and at Montgomery-Blair, and he was admitted to an outstanding university, and we're delighted. And our second son started 11th grade this morning, and that 20 minutes made a big difference, so thank you for that. It's been a really civilized morning. I feel great. I don't feel I've had too little sleep, and I shaved appropriately. I didn't leave any spots. I had a good breakfast, so thanks for the 20 minutes. And thanks to all of you. We're going to continue to work together. We're going to continue to make this the best public school system in the United States. And I don't know if Mr. Chia is going to introduce my good friend and colleague, or maybe I'll just do it myself. You could not find a greater champion for our public schools than the chairman of the County Council's Education Committee, my great friend, Craig Rice.
Thank you very much to the council president. And, one of the things I joked about, I used to run the circuit with the county executive, and I always hated following him because he always took all the good stuff. I was going to show the picture of my daughters ready for school, but now that's been done. So check that off the list. So let me just start off by saying this, and it's one of the things that it's a funny story. My wife is a hairstylist, as many of you know, and she had done my daughter's hair, and so we were sitting at the bus stop, and it started to rain. And I said, "Hun, come on in, because I don't want mommy to get mad because you've gotten rained on and your hair's gotten messed up." So we hopped in the car and we drove to school, and I dropped her off. And I started thinking to myself about what that whole scenario meant, right? I wasn't a parent who was concerned as I dropped my child off this morning. I wasn't concerned about the quality of the education she was going to receive. I wasn't concerned about her safety. I wasn't concerned about her future and what was going to happen as a result of the education that she was receiving within her school. I wasn't concerned about anything. Oh, but I was also fortunate enough to be able to hop into my car and drive her to school instead of her sitting out in the rain. And I say to myself that a lot of times what we do is we forget what great things we have in front of us. And so I want to take a minute to pause and just thank all of the folks who are responsible for making Montgomery County Public Schools the great system that it is. And that's what I think we need to reflect on, because it is the very reason why my parents located here, a product of the Montgomery County Public School system. It's the reason why we continue to attract great jobs and economic development opportunities. I was meeting with tower companies a couple days ago, and they said one of the main drivers for them when it comes to attracting folks is that our quality school system continues to achieve for our kids. And that's important. But it's also important that we continue to have that achievement. And it cannot happen when we continue to have school construction that lags behind. We have all been singing with the same voice, saying that we want to make sure that we continue to have the best for our kids. That means continuing to make sure that the school system, in terms of its capacity, keeps up with the growth that you see in these charts. But it hasn't happened. And even though our state legislators have fought for us tooth and nail to get us every single dollar, we still lag behind. I appreciate the partnership that we have all had. We've all been together in this. MCCPTA, our MCAP, our unions, everyone together saying this is important for us. MCEA, our teachers saying, you know what, this is the most important thing for us to do, is to make sure that we have school capacity that's appropriate for our kids. But unfortunately, an administration continues to turn a blind eye. I had an opportunity at MACO to talk to Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford, and I told him, you do not want to make it seem as though this administration does not care about educating our kids. But that's the risk that they run. When you see these staggering numbers, when you see a school like Wheaton Woods that continues to provide for their kids, even though they've got huge amounts of trailers, but teachers and building staff and the principal is doing everything they can to still make sure that they get a quality education, why are we making it tough? Why are we making it difficult for people to do what we know is right? We've got to step up. We've got to step up as a state. We've got to make sure that we're delivering for our kids so that we can continue to do what I did this morning, to drop off my daughter and know that everything's going to be all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. It's my pleasure and honor to introduce Mr. Larry Bowers, Interim Superintendent of Montgomery County Public Schools.
Good morning. I'd like to thank Mr. Chia and the parents and staff at Wheaton Woods Elementary School for hosting us today. I'd also like to thank Mr. Chia and all of the other principals and our central services staff and a lot of other school-based staff who spent a good part of the summer getting ready for today. Most people think that everybody who works in central office or principals and others just take the summer off and don't have anything to do. But we could never have a day like today and open up as successfully as we do without having all the work that goes on during the summer. Montgomery County has had some great success in the past. We have a lot to be proud of. We've had, as you probably know, our graduation rates are going up 3% over the last 3 years. Our ACT scores came out the other day. They're on the way up. So we are doing very well for some of our students, but we still have some real challenges for other of our students who aren't doing so well. The achievement gap is closing in certain areas, but in other areas it's not. In some places it's even getting worse. So we have a lot of work to do this year, and we all need to work to do it together. I appreciate all of our council members, Mr. Leggett, who's not there anymore, and our state legislators for working together with us to address the needs of the school system. Our strategic planning framework outlines the guiding tenets, which includes the core values that Mrs. O'Neill talked about. It includes the core competencies that we expect all of our students to be able to have when they leave Montgomery County Public Schools. And then the district implementation plan has 5 core strategies and areas that we're going to be focusing on. But this year we've set aside and identified 5 key strategic priorities that are going to focus our work this year. And this is a message that we're sending to all of our staff. The first one is strengthening the foundation for their academic success. And this is really focusing on math and literacy skills, making sure that all of our students have those skills that are going to be needed for them to be successful when they leave Montgomery County to be college ready and career ready. And so this is really important, and I'm heartened by, I visited a couple schools this morning, and the principals were going over all of the work they're doing. They've already started doing with their staff last week when all the teachers were back, going through math and literacy, setting some targets for this year, identifying learning plans for all their teachers. So our principals are taking the lead, and this is throughout all of our schools in the county that we're focusing on this work. And part of it is focusing on accountability and results. We need to become, and others, many have heard me say this, we need to become the data-driven school system that we were 5 or 6 years ago. We really need to set expectations for all of our students. We need to be monitoring results. Teachers, administrators need to have data to know where each of their students are so they can identify the interventions and the strategies that are needed to help all students be successful. And we need to enhance the culture of collaboration and respect. This requires building a culture of trust among all of our staff, our parents, our students, working together, building relationships, creating relationships with our students, getting to know our students, knowing who they are, what their backgrounds are, where they're coming from, so that we can provide the services and the supports they really need. And so, and making sure that our staff had the high expectations for all of our students to achieve at high levels, and that our staff had the cultural proficiency to do this work. And part of that is focusing on human capital management. Our people are our greatest resource in Montgomery County Public Schools, 22,000 staff. We need to make sure we have high-quality staff in every position, and it's our responsibility to hire the best, to train them, to retain the best, and to make sure that they represent the cultural diversity of our county. And then the fifth priority is strengthening partnerships and engagement. We know we can't do this work alone. We know that we have to work with other county agencies, with community organizations, with our parents, in order to provide the support that many of our students need. Many of our students don't have the privileges of other families, and they need extra support, extra time after school, weekends, during the summer. We can't do this alone, and we have some great partnerships with our county agencies. We need to build them this year to provide the supports that our students need. You heard a couple comments about the commitment of the county executive and the county council to work together with us on the operating budget. That's got to be a high priority for us this year. In order to do this work, we're really not going to get this accomplished unless we get the resources we need. And so I appreciate the commitment of, again, the entire county council and the county executive and Mr. Rice's leadership of the Education Committee, but as well as our state delegation to provide the resources we're going to need. We're going to have a challenging fight in Annapolis this year, but we have to get not the operating budget resources we need. This is also going to be a challenging year to work with them to look at the capital budget needs, and you've already heard a lot about that. A lot of that's going to start in Annapolis. We were disappointed that we didn't get the funding we needed this year. We have a lot of shovel-ready projects. You heard that we opened up about 50 classrooms this year. That serves about 1,250 students. We have 2,600 new students. So that's not enough to keep up with the growth that we're getting. More than 2,000 students a year, actually for over the last 30 years. It's tremendous, and we need state support, and so I appreciate our delegation for working with us. One of the reasons why we came here to Wheaton Woods is that they've been on the list for a long time to be modernized. And this is a school that was built in the early 50s. In the 50s and the 60s, this county was building 5 or 6 schools each year. 5 or 6 schools each year. Construction methods were very different. Schools were much, much smaller at the time. And so we really have to look at this revitalization and expansion program and address a lot of these schools. And it's called expansion because Wheaton Woods' capacity of 358, the new capacity is going to be more than double that. That's why we have all the relocatables outside. So we have to build this school much bigger, and in order to do that and build a footprint, we've got to go up. And in many of our buildings, new buildings, we're going to have to go up because we just don't have the land we have to build out. And you can't build on top of these old buildings. They have to be torn down to do that. So again, this is really an important initiative. Plus, the way we're building the environmental focus that our council and our board has is just amazing. And so this is really the environmental sustainability practices that we put in place for all of our new schools is very, very important. And so I just want to thank all of our, again, our partners at the county council, the delegation, and I really do want to thank our board for their leadership in making sure that the needs of our students are known and that we're going to fight this year to make sure that we have both the capital and the operating budget funds that we need in order to provide an appropriate school environment, as well as the appropriate teaching and learning, the quality teaching and learning in all of our classrooms. So again, I just want to thank everyone for coming today, thank everyone for their partnership, and looking forward to working together this year. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowers. At this point, we'd like to introduce Mr. Paul Geller, Vice President of Programs for the Montgomery County Council of PTAs.
I have to follow that august crew of people. Now it's the parents' turn. I thank you all, first of all, for including us today. The parents have a vested interest, obviously, in this. And it's more so than just sending your kids off to school. It's about really advocating where it's most needed. We can ask MCPS for so many things, to educate our kids, to really make them wonderful adults, to send them off to college and have a bright future. But we need to step up as well. And over the past many years, since Nancy King was leading us and long before, we've been an advocacy organization. How we feel about it now is we really have to step up our game to play our A game. There's a lot of sources for revenue. I know we've heard from the county council. Mr. Rice, you said some wonderful remarks today about possible property tax increases, things like that that aren't popular. One thing that we're going to be advocating for wholeheartedly this year is going to Annapolis and asking for a better cut of the casino table game revenue. Right now, there's two different funds of money, as I understand it. There's the video lottery terminals that pay approximately 40 to 45% for the casinos, 40 to 45% for the general fund, and then another 10% for state agencies. However, once we got the table games approved, it's an 80-20 split in favor of the casinos. As a parent, as someone who received a lot of literature at home, I thought that was very unfair, and many people who have heard about this think it's unfair. That would be a great source of revenue, not just for Montgomery County, because this is not just a Montgomery County issue. This is an issue for all 23 of our counties in Baltimore City. If we could get a better deal on that, we'd all benefit around the county, to the tune of almost $200 million a year in Montgomery County. So we'd like to do that. I'm going to step away from the business for a second because my real passion is the kids. You see here 156,514 of the brightest, most wonderful, promising kids in this county. They deserve our best effort. They deserve everything that we can get for them, not only in construction funds, but in operating funds as well. Many of our kids are in schools where the temperature is too cold in the winter and too hot in the summer. Several of my wonderful friends on the Board of Education and I had a chance to go to Carl Sandburg Learning Center last year, and it was cold in there. It's a school for kids who are special needs, and they couldn't wear coats or jackets because of sensory issues. And we saw them freezing in that classroom, and I can tell you, Dr. Daka and I, our hearts broke seeing that. We want to make sure that there's enough money in the operating budget this year to replace the HVAC systems in the schools that really need it. So maybe instead of a RevX project for certain schools, an HVAC system would prolong the life and would help us with our budget issues. I also want to thank, before I forget, our wonderful teachers and staff in our schools. A more wonderful group of selfless individuals you would never see. Jim Koutsos, McCap, my hat is off to you. I have never seen people, as I travel around, I was at 37 different schools last year, arrive early, stay late. Never say, look at me, look what I'm doing. No, they just get it done. Their noses to the grindstone. Earl B. Wood Middle School, I was there this summer, spent a lot of time. teachers, a guidance counselor second to none, putting wonderful phrases around the school to motivate the students to want to learn, to let them know that someone believes in them. We salute them. We salute our wonderful bus drivers, our school resource officers, and our cafeteria workers who take the time to ask, are you eating the right things today? People like Paint Branch Grandma Frida Kaplan. This woman has been volunteering or working for the school system since 1969. For those of you who know her, she is a gift to education. She's a volunteer and she cares. To all the great people like Joey Jones, middle school principal Robert Frost, Miss Kenny over at Carl Sandburg, and everyone, we salute you all. We thank you for taking such good care of our kids, and we wish everyone the best school year ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Geller. At this point, I'd like to introduce two members of our PTA leadership. We have Ms. Susana Argueta, our treasurer, along with Mr. Javier Chavez, our secretary. Mr. Chavez will share a few words from our PTA.
Good morning. I came prepared. I made notes because I learned a long time ago never to address leadership without proper notes and material. I'll be quick. Good morning. First of all, on behalf of the Parent-Teacher Association of Wheaton Woods Elementary Schools, thank you for visiting our school on this exciting first day of classes for academic year 2015. One of our most important goals for the year is to continue to increase student achievement by building a strong and supportive family and school partnership. With that said, I'd like to take a quick moment and thank our school leadership, Mr. Chia and Dr. Williams, as they lead us on this endeavor, and I wish them well, and I am very confident in their leadership. I also want to thank the superintendent for putting forth the plan for modernization of our school. We're looking forward to our new facilities, and we're eager to reap the benefits of a modern school installation. From a grateful parent, my sincere thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez and Ms. Argueta. So at this point, Mr. Tofik from Montgomery County Schools will come on up.
We'll be able to take a few questions for any of the guests here, so whoever they call it.
Hi, Nicole Ross with WMAL Radio. This is for Patricia O'Neill or State Senator Mary King. How likely is it that you will be able to get what you want from the governor this time around? What makes this time around different than last time around as far as state funding goes?
I make no guarantees. I am Senator Nancy King, by the way. The governor's been in his position for a year now. We're hoping that we've been able to build enough of a relationship with him. I've been working hard at it myself to be able to make him understand the needs of our kids. And like I said, we have a really unique situation here in Montgomery County with growing like we are and just the needs that we have. We're so far behind that we just need some major catching up. So we're I'm going to say confident that we can do better this year than we did last year.
Just because it's had a year to be able to meet.
Yeah, I mean the governor got elected last year. I think was a little bit kind of almost surprised that he got elected, and so it's been a kind of a learning curve year for him. But I think he's getting himself into the role, and we're confident that he's going to work with us and give us some more money for education.
And the PTA had mentioned getting money from casinos. Is that something that's viable in the state legislature?
There would be a whole lot of work on that. The thing about the gaming, I'd say this quick, we are moving more towards table games. And I asked the question, well, is there more, are we going to lose money if we're taking slot machines out and doing table games? We actually make more money on table games, like a lot more money. So they're telling me, I haven't seen the numbers, but they're telling me it's kind of a wash at this point, that we're still getting the same kind of revenue. It's just balanced differently. We'll see. I'm on that committee also. I'm on the Gaming Oversight Commission, so we are looking at all that closely.
Thanks. And one more question, if you don't mind, for the county council. We mentioned possibly raising property taxes. How much, what percentage would that be?
Well, we're not sure exactly what the percentages are, and we have to, when you're looking at a tax increase, you certainly have to look at all of the needs of the county, just not our school system, although our school system represents over half of our budget. So it certainly is something that we're going to have to weigh very carefully, but I think the county executive, who has a first bite at the apple, would have a much more detailed answer for you. But let me just say that when it comes to the charter limit, keep in mind that for us to go above the charter limit for property taxes would require a unanimous 9-0 vote. That's due to a FICR amendment that was passed some years ago. And so therefore, it makes it a little bit more difficult if we go beyond the charter limit. So there's oftentimes assumption that if you did increase, you'd increase to the maximum of the charter limit. And so that would be the kind of limitation that you'd be looking at. But, we have to look at this in the totality of all of our CIP. We have a capital improvements program budget that's coming up that we approve every 6 years. We're going to be doing that this year, which would include our schools as well as transportation. Many of you know we've already committed and promised the governor that we would allocate additional money for the Purple Line. And so that additional money competes against school construction as well as other transportation and infrastructure projects throughout the county. So it's a very convoluted process. There's a lot that's in it. So it's very early at this point in time, but you've heard the commitment from the county executive. The county council has also said that we cannot continue to fall behind. We've got to start keeping pace. So there's a commitment that's there.
And that charter limit, is that 7%? Like, what's the?
It is.
Thanks. Thank you.
As a Board of Education, it's our responsibility to plead our case, whether it's in Annapolis or Rockville. And, we know from experience in Annapolis, sometimes it takes a couple of years to be successful. We have tremendous needs, as you see, with our rising enrollment and our aging schools epitomized here today at Wheaton Woods. So whether it's in Annapolis or Rockville, we will continue to plead our case. We can't do it alone. We do need our partners, our elected officials. We need parents and community members to help us carry that message forward. The taxpayers in Montgomery County have been generous with school construction. The majority of our school construction needs over the years, it's been funded here locally. They can't do it alone. We do need help from Annapolis.
Time for one more question?
You included in the package this religious diversity explanation. Is some of the decisions that were made last year regarding taking religious designations off the calendar and whether or not certain other holidays are going to be added to the calendar, is that something that's going to be revisited this year or anytime soon?
Next week, the board will take tentative action on a comprehensive calendar policy. We've never had a calendar policy. We reviewed across the country and locally, Howard County, Fairfax County, for models of a calendar policy. Actually, on the issue of days of commemoration, we're following what the county government does. If you go to our calendar tab on our website, you can, when you fill in the blocks, hit days of commemoration, and it's all inclusive of holidays that I had never heard of, but it's very extraordinarily comprehensive. We did communicate and work with our interfaith working group to help develop the guide to respecting religious differences. And next week, the board will take up the calendar policy.
Time for one more question.
It's also the first day with the longer school times. What sort of things will you be looking at this year to see whether or not you want to extend those to make it later? Because the other proposal was more than an hour, I think, was the difference. Is there something you're going to be looking at this year with that too?
We looked at a wide variety of options. Many of them had extraordinary fiscal costs. As you know, in June, when we took final action on our operating budget, we had to reduce $53 million. We felt it was important to take a step in the right direction. The American Academy of Pediatrics and the Center for Disease Control recommend a start time of 8:30 for high schools and middle schools. 20 minutes seemed like a compromise that we could afford because there was no fiscal note connected with it. As I said, making a change even of 20 minutes is extraordinarily complicated. We've heard some concerns among elementary parents, but we're committed to doing what is right. The CDC says for health reasons, schools should start at 8:30. This was better at 7:45 than at 7:25. It's a small step. So today is day one of our new bell schedule, so we'll have to wait and see how everything has worked out.